So my name is Ihsan Zakri, and I'm the Vice President for EMEA Growth and Engagement for AACSB. Just not to be sound pretentious and assume what AACSB is. So we are the world largest accreditor for business education. We are over 100 years old. We're all over the world. We have accredited institutions, more than 1,000 accredited institutions in over 65 countries around the world. I'm very proud to be here. Ahlia University is one of the two accredited in Bahrain and the first private accredited in Bahrain. So well done indeed. Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you, Isra. So this one, it's a very interesting one, and I have a disclaimer to make. I have used most of slides from colleagues. We recently had our MENA conference in Tunisia a few weeks ago, I believe 3 or so weeks ago. And one of the presentations, it was regarding this question. This question came up. So we talked about skills, we talked about the curriculum, we talked about how the industry is ready for different learners. And we had two phenomenal speakers, and I got their permission to use most of the examples. I loved Professor Caroline, your examples, and I think I'm building up on something similar to that. But the question that came here, so this is when I was talking to Isra about what do we talk about, and I think this is timely. And this is going to be a little bit uncomfortable, but I mean, it's an uncomfortable question. Are business schools ready for industry? But we need to face it at some point. Are we keeping up with all of that? The changes in the industry and the leaps that happened in the last couple of decades, and I will dive into that in just a minute. But this is not a story of failure. So when having this question, we're trying to to be catchy or getting the attention. It is only a story of misalignment in what the industry is expecting and what the reality of business schools happening right now. So again, rapid digital transformation. Just to give you an example, AI and the data reshaping decision-making. This is one of the other things. The remote and hybrid, so post-COVID, how we are working. It's changing, of course, and then the constant disruption for economic and geopolitical and, of course, technological. So we look at the World Economic Forum, and this is the report that looked at the changes that we are expecting in terms of the skills. I'm sure this doesn't come as a surprise for you, what we're seeing about the work across functions and also using our decision-making using incomplete data, communication for our graduates, how they are able to communicate and working across cultures. So all of that is feeding into how we are looking at how we are doing the assessment. Add to all of that, in our case, and I will go that later in the slides, is the expectations from the accreditor. So always looked at the lens of the business accreditation. In this case specifically, are you able to keep up the assessment of teaching and learning? So we're looking at what's happening here, how the industry is evolving. And also keeping in mind, industry is evolving faster than ever than expected when we worked with the business education before. So if we're looking 30 years ago and so on, the changes in industry in comparison to happening right now, yet most of the frameworks that we're having, for example, ministries of higher education, quality assurance frameworks, including ourselves, it takes time. For AACSB, we only change the standards every 10th year. I mean, we cannot afford that anymore. So this is why the changes now and how we are refreshing the standards are changing rapidly. So we have created a process in place that detects that. There is a framework. The bylaws of AACSB has changed the first time in over 100 years. We're changing that to be able to cope up with the changes in the industry. The second thing is the expectations from the employers. So skills, ready, focused, you are able to provide, but are they able to work in multinational companies or global companies? Problem solving across different departments. The graduates now, the expectations are able to hit the ground and able to work. If you targeting global companies, if you're working for instance, in Microsoft, if you work for Nestle and the big names, in the reporting we're seeing with them, they are either collaborating directly with the universities, so they are specifically targeting specific graduates, or they are setting the expectations by being involved in the classroom in designing the curriculum for these institutions. You can be an expert, the graduate, in a specific area, but they are unable to work with the different personalities, different mindsets, and definitely with a different global expectations. So we're continuing with the World Economic Forum evidence from the report, and I urge you to look at that. This is the part that I will be able to focus on because of the examples that we have. It's the involvement of businesses with industry, with the business schools. We're seeing this solution moving forward. It was so far consultation. It cannot be anymore. They need to be involved in the classroom. They need to be involved in design and also in the assessment. And because I'm here and what I'm representing, they need to be compatible to assurance of learning, for example, the assessment of assurance of learning, without being conflicting with it. I apologize for a lot of text here, but this is an example of how you can map the assessment and including the industry, so the work integrated learning. So you can design that within your institutions, and as you can see, it could be from foundational to becoming to the professional part, from the introduction of it to being more reflected in the capstone or the other courses, as you can see there. This we are able to provide. The source I have provided it there. So this is from University of Wollongong and Wollongong, Dubai. So this is one of the examples that the school have shared. This is very interesting that I got from Harvard about the change management simulation, and we're seeing more and more institutions are using that. So this is again the engagement of the decision making, involving the learners in real life. What you call it, problems, issues that they can solve. I know the questions that comes up about using AI or technology and about the ethical component. You have to put that aside. We're not looking at the tool that they are using. You want to get them to make the right judgment, because that is what's expected. The human skill and the judgment that the learners can use. I'll bombard you with examples. This is an example of a capstone. How has that been applied? So it's an embedded, the life industry project. As you can see, we always want to pay attention if you are an accredited institution. So I'm looking at Isra, and she knows that, okay, you want to introduce something, but what does that mean? And the changes and how that will disrupt assurance of learning. It is not disrupting it. It's actually supporting assurance of learning by having the feedback from the employers. There is no compromise on the academic rigor if it is done in that way. AI resilient, so you can continue doing that without feeling that there is a compromise in one or more of these areas. Another example that we have here, so this is about the first year of marketing and how is that assessed. And you can see we're doing the same structure. So the foundation of work, integrated learning, and then embedded, and about the authentic assessment, and that is by introducing the employer's feedback, and then the industry engagement and feedback, which is something we need. As an accreditor, we expect that the employer feedback at all times, but unfortunately, it is now just getting an opinion. It's a very indirect measure happening right now. It needs to be direct to provide the what's needed there. And I continue by, this is a last example on a capstone for applied work integrated learning. So please feel free to leverage some of the examples that we are having here. I'll leave you with that. I'll leave you with this specific idea that unfortunately, different parts of the world do that, collecting the data differently. So there is a misalignment about the global implementation of this. And I think at some point, to be able to be compatible at that level, we all need to operate in a different way and in this similar. Meaning, we need the placement rate. Some parts of the world, for example, I studied in Sweden. In Sweden, you cannot collect data on placement. By law, you are not required to do that. So that is, of course, an issue about the hiring metrics and how the graduates are behaving, getting feedback. You can find your way around it. So if the framework is not able to do that, you can survey the employers themselves. About the quality of the students getting work by external reviewers and validating that practically also is advisable. And of course, the curriculum agility, and that speaks volume, not only for our accreditation, but other accreditors. So there is no compromise on the rigor. Develop your own program of assessment. Eventually, we all need to be able to do that, not waiting on grading the graduate placements. but actually we need to be able to monitor that. So thank you so much for giving me the time. Thank you so much. Yes, thanks. And I'll be available again all day today. So if you have any questions, happy to address that. Thank you.